Everyone desires to have others do what they want. Bosses desire to have their subordinates do what they want and get the result. Parents want their children to do what they want. Couples want their partner to do what they want or behave the way they want them to behave. Even children want their parents to also do what they want. Friends want their friends to do what they want. We all desire others to do for us the things we want. How do you get other people to do for you what you want them to do without manipulating them, deceiving them, coercing, or forcing them? That's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. I'm Solomon Obi. I'm a pastor, teacher, author, and a conference speaker. If this is your first time of visiting my YouTube channel or watching any of my video, please hit the subscribe button below and also turn on your notifications any of my videos. So let's get straight into this. How do you get other people to do for you the things you want without forcing them, coercing them, manipulating them, or deceiving them? I have two children, Trina, my first daughter, and Jason, my second son, or my last boy. Now, I took both of them one day out to get snacks for them, and I decided to buy different snacks for them. So I bought something different for Trina and something different for Jason. And then while we were on our way going back, Trina asked Jason to give her a little bit of his snack, and Jason refused. And she pleaded and pleaded, and Jason was not budging. He refused to give Trina a bit or a little of his snack. And then I said to Trina, why not you give Jason first a little bit of your snack? Which she agreed to, and she did. She gave Jason a little of her own snack. Right there, Jason cut a little part of his snack and also gave to Trina without me saying anything. That was the beginning point of me discovering how we can get other people to do what we want them to do for us. Now, you will also have noticed, especially if you live in Nigeria, that most people who sell things, all right, maybe suya, granite, they will always give you a little to test. Why do you think they do that? Because by giving you that little and you accept it and test it, you are somehow committed or indebted to buy from them. Now, this phenomenon is actually a law. It's called the law of reciprocity. Some people call it the law of retaliation, but I want to call it the law of reciprocity. Now, what is the law of reciprocity? This law states that people are internally driven to return anything done to them or for them in the same measure or even more. People are internally driven to return anything done to them or for them in the same measure or even more. That's very, very powerful. Many years ago, I heard of a story of a young lady who just finished from the university and she read law, but she didn't have anywhere to work and she was looking for a job. So somebody advised her using this law of reciprocity. And what was the advice? She was told to go and volunteer her services in any of the law firm without looking for salary, which she did. Now she started working in that law firm, volunteering her services. She wasn't being paid, all right? But after some few months, the owner of the firm called her and said, we've seen the good work you're doing and would like to officially employ you as a staff of our firm. Now, how did she get the employment she was looking for? Simple. She first did something for the firm and in turn got the firm to do for her what she was looking for. This is the law of reciprocity. Jesus talked about this law, in fact, in Matthew 7. Now, I like teaching with the scriptures because for me, the scripture is not only inspirational, but it's also the manual. It shows us a lot of laws and principles by which we can guide our lives and achieve success on it. So in Matthew 7 verse 12, Jesus said, Do for others what you would like them to do for you. This is the law of reciprocity. Before you get others to do anything for you, you first think about what you can do for them. Once you do for them, it may not be the exact thing you want them to do for you, but once you show an act of kindness, they are internally driven to reciprocate that act of kindness. So the law of reciprocity applies to every human being on the face of the earth. Slap a man right now, he is driven to return that slap back to you. If not in the same measure, even more. Help someone today, he will be driven internally without you asking him or her to return that favor you did for him or her. This is what some people call the law of attraction, that like attracts like. And that's very true. You find this law all over in nature. Whatever you sow to the earth is the exact thing that the earth will bring forth for you, because the earth will always reap or give you in return whatever you sow into it. So we find it in nature, we find it in every human being. Now, this law of reciprocity, Galatians chapter 6 verse 7 calls it the law of sowing and reaping. And it says, do not be deceived, because God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. So we see this law all over there. Now, when you do good for others, what you are actually doing, when you sow the seed of kindness, the seed of goodness to other people, what you are actually doing is that you are planting a seed in them for them to reciprocate what you have done to them. So it's a seed. Now, we can call that auto-suggestion. If a parent wants to change their children and make them better, I believe that using the principle of auto-suggestion can help you. All right. So how do you do that? Instead of you scolding the child, why not say some good things to the child? Why not tell the child you are far better than this? Now, I've used it on my children. Okay, this is not you. This thing you're doing doesn't look like you. You're better than this. You're more intelligent than this. Now, what am I doing? I'm suggesting to their minds that they are better than their actions. So internally, they will be driven and motivated to meet up to my suggestion of who they are. They will be internally driven to meet up to it. I heard a story of a manager who was a supervisor who had salespersons under him. And one of his salesmen wasn't doing very well. His record was poor, all right, for the week or the month. And one day, this supervisor was just moving around, checking how his sales team are performing, all right. And he went to this man who was not performing well. He went to his desk, laid his hand on his shoulders very gently, and just said to him, you're doing a very wonderful work. Have seen how you are so committed and dedicated in what you're doing. In fact, you're one of my best staff. Now, the story said that after 2 days, when the supervisor was going through his record, he observed that this man that wasn't doing well, this salesman that wasn't doing well, which he had just complimented, after 2 days, his results changed. In fact, he did better than every other of his colleagues. What was the secret? The principle of auto-suggestion. The supervisor simply suggested to his mind that you are more than this, you can get better result if only you will give in more. But he didn't say that to him directly. He suggested it to his mind. And then the man began acting based on that suggestion, thinking they were his own thoughts, but they weren't his thoughts. It was suggested. That's why we call it auto-suggestion. Now, you can get your partner also to start doing what you want your partner to do if only you can start responding the way you want your partner to respond. All right? See, the way you speak to your partner determines the way he or she will speak back to you. The way you treat your partner determines the way he or she will treat you back. Is the law of reciprocity. So if you want your partner to speak nicely to you, speak nicely to him or her. You want your partner to treat you with respect, with dignity. You have to treat him or her with respect or dignity. Now, by doing that first, don't seek for the person to do it first. You go ahead and do it first. By doing that first, you are auto suggesting how the person should react to you or respond to you or behave to you. Let me say something here at this point, very powerful, and you need to get this, listen very attentively. You can even write it down. When you begin to think good about others, when you begin to have favorable thoughts, all right, good thoughts about other people, your friends, family members, your colleagues, when you start having good thoughts, favorable thoughts towards them, what you are doing is you are planting the seed in their own minds to start having favorable thoughts and good thoughts towards you. It works, I can tell you that. It works. That's why the Bible tells us, think no evil about anyone. I cannot explain the phenomenon, but I can tell you that it works and it's real. The thoughts you have about people is the same thoughts they begin to think towards you. So when you are thinking of helping others, blessing them, you're thinking good about them, you're praying good prayers for them by the way of your thoughts, you are also planting a seed in them. And before you know it, they begin to respond, reciprocate by thinking good of you, speaking good of you, saying, wow, he's a nice guy. This is the law of reciprocity and the principle of autosuggestion. Now you will agree with me because I know you may have had this experience. Have you ever wondered why sometimes, all right, you're thinking about someone, or discussing about someone to your friend or some other person, and right there, or a few minutes after your thoughts, the person shows up. He walks into the room, he shows up in person, and sometimes you say, wow, I was just talking about you. Or sometimes, okay, thinking about the person, he just gives you a call. And you say, oh, I was about to call you. I was just thinking about you. I know you may have experienced that. You see, you may not be able to explain it. I may not be able to also explain the source, but that does not mean that this law doesn't apply or doesn't exist. I remember some years back when I and my wife got newly married, and one day I was in the office and she was leaving the house, I think going to the market to get something. And while in my office, around 4 o'clock, I picked up a signal in my spirit. All right? I just felt in my heart that something evil, something bad was to happen to my wife. Now, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know where she was. I left her at home, but I picked up that signal in my spirit. So I began praying and just speaking in tongues because I didn't know the actual harm that was coming to her. When I finished, not long, she walked into my office. And I told her, wow, do you know I was just praying for you? Where were you by this time? And then she began narrating the story to me. Just at the exact time it came into my mind, around 4 p.m., she was on the way going to market and she was harassed by some young men. But thank God, they didn't do any harm to her. They didn't steal any of her belongings or properties. So she was able to get away from them. Now, I believed it's because I picked up the signal and then began to pray, even though I didn't understand the exact harm that was coming. Now, question, how did I pick up the signal? Now, there are many explanations for that. I know that through the gift of the Holy Spirit called the word of knowledge, believers, those who are born again, if you're born again, wonderful, then you can experience it supernaturally. So believers have the ability to be able to know things that are happening through the word of knowledge. But beyond the word of knowledge, every human being have these same abilities. We call it intuition. But I can explain a little of what happened. I believe that at that moment when my wife was being attacked, her thoughts was on me, perhaps. Perhaps she was thinking who could help her, or my husband. And at that moment, having that thought in her mind, I believe I picked up the signal. You see, because the thoughts we hold in our minds, we implant them without we knowing, but that's what is happening. We plant them in the minds of other people. So when you're thinking good, when you're thinking of being blessed, when you're thinking of how you're going to have a breakthrough, or you know you're going to have a breakthrough, you're thinking about it, you're thinking about scaling and doing more. The more you hold that thought in your mind, the more you are planting the seed in someone's mind who will eventually come around to help you achieve what you've been having in your mind. Apply this principle. It does work. It does work. I would like to hear your comments below. If this video has been a blessing to you, I would like you to give a thumbs up, okay? And I would like to hear your comments. I would like to hear your questions, your requests, your opinions. If you've not subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Remain blessed and keep soaring. Thank you.